Are you planning to visit Kenya? Do you want to go on safari there, but you're not sure where exactly? Watch this video to learn about my favorite wildlife destinations in this beautiful country that you should consider visiting on your trip. But first, opening sequence. Hello wildlife watchers and nature lovers, welcome back for another Safari Insights video. If you don't know who I am, my name is Jeff Hyer and I'm sometimes known as Safari Jeff. And that's because my life revolves around going on safari. I've been on dozens of safaris in my lifetime, and over the years I've learned a lot about game viewing and how to plan for these types of trips. So I created this channel to help you optimize your safari planning experience. Hit subscribe if you haven't already, I'm glad you're here. And guess what? I can help you design and book your dream safaris. So if you want me to help you kickstart the planning process, visit the link in the description below for more information. Let me be your gateway to the wilds of Africa. In today's video, I'm going to talk about one of my favorite places in the world, Kenya. This is the place where I went on my first ever safari and the wildlife destination I have the most experience in. Kenya is one of the most popular destinations in the world to go on safari because there's so much biodiversity. There's several different environments within it: mountains, beaches, grasslands, swamplands, deserts, forests, and more. With all of these different places to consider visiting, the choices can feel overwhelming. That's why I'm here to help. In today's video, I'm going to break down 5 of my favorite wildlife destinations so you can get a better understanding of what's unique about each. I will of course be mentioning many others because trust me, there's a lot more than just 5, but I want to take this opportunity to give you a scope of what's out there so you can find the destinations that are most suited for you. I want to help you identify where you should visit. A huge part of my job as a safari planner is to send travelers to the right places where they can get the most out of their trip. Everyone's preferences will be different, and depending on your needs and interests, the emphasis on what you want to achieve in your experience will influence where you want to go. So this video is meant to give you an overview of 5 options, what's unique about each, and the reasons why I love them. Alright, the first place I'm going to cover on this list would be, of course, the Masai Mara National Reserve. You've probably heard of this place before. It's perhaps the most popular safari destination, not just in Kenya, but the entire continent of Africa, and for good reason. This is why I kicked off the list with the Masai Mara. Here are some of the reasons why it's so significant. Located in the southwestern part of Kenya stands an iconic testament to the untamed beauty of Africa. The Masai Mara is contiguous with Tanzania's Serengeti, meaning that they border each other. This is essentially the Kenya side of the same ecosystem. This is where the great wildebeest migration takes place, when millions of wildebeest and hundreds of thousands of zebras cross over from the Serengeti across the Mara River and enter the Masai Mara to feed on fresh pastures. This is a massive wildlife spectacle and natural phenomenon that attracts wildlife watchers from around the world. It is an absolute spectacular thing to witness. Beyond its picturesque landscapes, the Masai Mara holds cultural significance as the homeland of the Masai people, adding a unique human dimension to the safari experience. The landscapes here are vast grasslands, views and vistas as far as the eye can see. This area is best known for its high concentrations of all types of wildlife. This is where you're going to see the huge herds, large numbers of big cats. I'm just going to say that there's never a boring game drive in the Masai Mara. No matter where you visit, you're almost always guaranteed a spectacular sighting. And the other important thing to consider about the Masai Mara National Reserve is that it's such a large region that you could easily spend 2 to 3 days just focusing and honing in on one corner of the greater Masai Mara ecosystem. There's several regions within it. There's private conservancies that border this area. You could spend a month here if you really wanted to dive into it. This is why 9 times out of 10 people include the Mara on their Kenya safari itineraries. It absolutely deserves to be included, and if you have not been there before and this is your first time going to Kenya, I definitely recommend a visit. I try to make it here every time I go because, like I said, you just can't go wrong in the Mara. I've had some of the best wildlife sightings ever here. I also want to mention that the Mara caters to all types of travelers. There's accommodation options for budget, mid-range, and luxury travelers. You can find the whole scope here. Other unique attractions you can add on to your experience in the Mara would include hot air balloon rides. This will give you a unique aerial perspective of the landscapes and wildlife. Just thinking about this place is giving me severe safari fever. Absolutely recommend a visit here. It is a year-round destination. You cannot miss the Masai Mara. All right, the next place on my list is Amboseli National Park. This is also one of the main wildlife parks in the country. It is located in the southern part of Kenya near the border of Tanzania, and this park is known for its stunning views of Mount Kilimanjaro, the highest peak in Africa, which is actually located in Tanzania, but visible from Amboseli. You can get some of the best views of this mountain from the Kenya side. This is where you're gonna get those postcard views. We're gonna see roaming wildlife with this Kilimanjaro mighty backdrop. The scenery here is breathtaking. It's a much smaller park, but there's a diverse range of biomes. You can find grasslands, savannas, acacia woodlands, all in one region. It doesn't take a ton of time to explore it all, and because it is a smaller park that's really popular, it can sometimes feel a little bit congested here. This is not where you're going to have those exclusive wildlife sightings. You will notice lots of other people and vehicles exploring this place. Another wildlife feature that makes Amboseli significant are the elephant herds. Amboseli is often known as the home of the African elephant, the land of giants. This is where you can see large herds of elephants that have either a permanent resident in the park or migrating through. It's part of a migratory route. And here you can also see big tuskers, which are bull elephants with tusks that are so long they scrape the ground. They are the largest land animals in the world. There's a lot of research that's conducted around the elephants of Amboseli. They've been studied for decades. So you are guaranteed elephant sightings here because it's the land of the giants for a reason. There's also the opportunity for cultural experiences with the Masai people here as well as the Masai Mara. And one of my favorite spots to visit here that I just want to mention is Observation Hill. This is where you can get one of the best panoramic views of the landscape, of the wildlife, and of course the mighty Kilimanjaro. Standing up there offers an amazing vantage. Amboseli National Park, definitely recommend. The third destination I'm going to talk about in this video is Pejeta Conservancy. In my opinion, this is one of the most overlooked places to visit in Kenya. This is such a special place and a very important one as well. Pejeta is 360 square kilometers of protected wilderness right at the foothills of Mount Kenya. So on clear days, you can get a visual of the second tallest peak in Africa. And what I love about Pejeta, besides all of the incredible wildlife conservation projects it's a part of, is that it's a great model of what ecotourism is all about. It is a place that directly contributes not just to wildlife, but for local communities as well. For starters, the Conservancy employs 900 local people, whether they're working in hospitality, anti-poaching units, wildlife efforts, or anything involved with tourism there really. They engage and heavily invest in education and healthcare projects for local communities as well. Honestly, this place is a great model that every other conservancy in the world should look up to. The reason I really recommend this place and send a lot of people here is because it's where you can have an impact safari. And this is a concept where your tourism dollars can directly contribute not just in wildlife, but all of these other things as well. Aside from that, Pejeta is the largest black rhino sanctuary in East Africa. Unfortunately, rhino populations have plummeted in the last few decades due to poaching and habitat loss. Although they're part of the Big Five, spotting a wild rhino in this region is very uncommon, very unlikely. In Pejeta though, it's a different story. There's tons of them here. You're practically tripping over rhinos. And they're not just working to increase the populations of their resident rhinos, but they're working to send these rhinos across the country, rewilding them, reintroducing them into their native habitats, which is a project I love supporting. Another unique feature is that it's the only place in Kenya where you can see chimpanzees. The Sweetwater's Chimpanzee Sanctuary is a place where you can get an up-close perspective of chimpanzees that were rescued from the illegal wild animal trade as well as the bushmeat trade where people actually consume chimpanzee meat. A lot of these apes were orphaned because their parents were involved with either of those situations, and this is a place that has given them a second chance at life. Pejeta is a very family-friendly destination. There's tons of activities that all age groups are invited for. Such activities include lion tracking, where you can have a very inclusive, involved experience actually tagging along with lion researchers that go out in the bush and track and study their resident lion prides. This is a very cool experience if you want to gain a better understanding and appreciation for the bush. You can also meet the anti-poaching canine team. These dogs are spectacular and play an integral part in protecting the wildlife here and the surrounding communities as well. They deploy these dogs all around the country to fight crime. You can actually watch them do their daily training exercises and meet and greet these dogs directly. You can also feed the resident black rhino Baraka, who's blind in both eyes and now serves as an ambassador for his species. One of my favorite things I did there was a night drive. You can get a whole new perspective of the bush by going out after dark, turning on your red lights, and looking for wildlife species you wouldn't normally see during the day. You can go to Old Pejeta as any type of traveler. There's budget, mid-range, and luxury options for stays. And perhaps what Old Pejeta is most famous for, where it's gained most of its international attention, is that it's home to the last 2 remaining northern white rhinos on planet Earth. This is a subspecies of white rhino that was once widespread across northern regions of Africa, and unfortunately, due to habitat loss, poaching, and civil unrest in countries where they're native, there's only 2 that remain. And you can actually go and visit them in person. I can't guarantee that you can pet them, but you can book a tour where you can meet and learn all about their incredible story. Oh, I miss my lady friends. I can't wait to go back and see them again. All right, the 4th place on this list is Lake Nakuru National Park. Lake Nakuru National Park is nestled in the heart of Kenya's Great Rift Valley. It's a renowned conservation area that encompasses the stunning Lake Nakuru, which is an alkaline lake. What this means is that there's a high concentration of dissolved salts, which creates a suitable pH level, suitable environment for organic life to thrive, also known as tons of bird food. So this lake attracts hundreds of thousands of birds, namely flamingos, which is probably what Lake Nakuru is best known for. Huge flamboyances of flamingos will flock here to feed on all of this organic life. It is a prolific bird watching destination. Aside from that, there's also plenty of rhino sighting opportunities. As I mentioned earlier, rhinos are really not common in East Africa to spot, but in Lake Nakuru, plenty of them have been reintroduced, which makes this place extra special. It's also a place where you can witness wild Rothschild giraffes. There was a time when only a few hundred of these giraffes were remaining in the world, and they were reintroduced into Lake Nakuru, and now it's one of the main places where you can witness them in the wild. This place experiences a lot of rainfall, so it's very lush, very green. All right, and the last destination on this list is Samburu and Buffalo Springs National Reserves. These are technically 2 separate reserves, but they border each other, so you can easily cross from one into the other. The reason why I love Samburu is that it has such a unique arid environment. It is unlike anything else you'll find in Kenya. Because it's located more in the northern area, the scenery is a lot more rugged mountains, a lot more desert-like, and some of the wildlife species you'll find here are very unique to this region. You won't find them in the Masai Mara, Amboseli, or the other places I mentioned on this list. Samburu is home to the Samburu Special 5. This includes the greve zebra, reticulated giraffe, beza oryx, Somali ostrich, and gerenuk. The best way I can describe this is that these are all species you've heard of, but they're written in different fonts. When we're talking about evolution, it's very interesting to see these subspecies evolve depending on which climates they reside in. So while in the grasslands like Masai Mara and Amboseli, you're going to see a lot of common zebra, a lot of Masai giraffes. You visit this more unique part of Kenya, up in the desert, up in the north, and you're going to see all of these same species, but in a whole different form. The Somali ostrich, for example, has a blue neck and blue legs. The greve zebra has really fluffy ears and really thin stripes. The gerenuk altogether is just a very unique antelope species that stands on its hind legs. If you really want to observe some unique wildlife species, you must visit this place. This place is for the wildlife nerds, okay? I don't know if it was just by chance or by luck, but I've had some of the best wildlife sightings I've ever had here. Although it's a little bit harder to reach this part of the country, it's definitely worth a visit. I think the main word to describe this place is that it's unique. And that concludes the list. That was 5 safari destinations that you should consider visiting in Kenya. I just want to mention that of course there are more than 5. It'd be impossible for me to cover them all in one video and impossible for you to cover them all in one trip. Honorable mentions would include Tsavo National Park, Tsavo East and West, which is the largest national park in the country. Definitely can't leave that out of this video. Other destinations would include Marsabit, all the way in the far northern regions of Kenya, which is very far away from the rest of the tourist trail, but a very, very unique place. There's Hell's Gate National Park, where you can have some of the best biking safaris in the country. There's Meru. Meru is so cool. There's also Lake Naivasha, which is a wonderful area to explore. A very common pit stop for people traveling from Nairobi to the Masai Mara. So if you're traveling on that route, I definitely recommend paying a visit here, a little stopover. And of course, there's Nairobi National Park, which is right in the heart of Nairobi itself. From this park, you can see the city skyline. It offers this unique contrast between the wilds of Africa and human civilization. There's no place quite like it. It really shows this human and wildlife coexistence. And let's also not forget about all the private conservancies you can visit as well. Some examples would be Loisaba, Mutara, Shaba, Lua, and the list goes on. In short, Kenya is rich with wildlife destinations. Deciding where to go during your visit can be a difficult decision, but I hope this video gave you a better sense of what you can experience in each, give you some initial information about what to expect when traveling to each of these destinations. I've made the effort to visit these regions so I can best pair them with you and your needs. Again, if you want me to be involved in your safari planning process and you want my input so I can assess your situation specifically, you can find more information and details in the description below. Let me be involved in making your safari dreams happen. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here. Hit subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time for more Safari Insight videos.